The last bastion. Archon Prime hung like a battered jewel on the edge of known space, its scarred surface glowing faintly beneath the distant light of a dying star. The planet's once vibrant cities were now nothing more than shattered ruins, the scars of war etched deep into its red soil. It was humanity's last stand, a final bastion against the might of the Vharix Collective, an alien coalition that had long dismissed humans as little more than primitive nuisances. Captain Mara Eland stood on the bridge of the Aegis, the flagship of the last human defense fleet orbiting Archon Prime. The hum of machinery and the sharp crackle of distant communications filled the air. Outside, the stars glittered coldly, indifferent to the desperate struggle unfolding in their midst. "Status report," Mara's voice was steady, though beneath it simmered a hard-won resolve. Lieutenant Voss, a wiry man with sharp eyes, tapped rapidly on his console. "Vharix fleet detected, Captain. They're massing at Vector 739. Estimated strength, twice our own, possibly more. They're preparing for orbital bombardment within the hour." Mara's jaw tightened. Twice their numbers. Twice their firepower. Yet here they were, humans clinging to a broken planet with nothing but grit and stubborn defiance. The Vharix believed humanity was weak, disorganized and primitive. They'd been wrong before, and Mara was determined they'd be wrong again. "Battle stations," Mara ordered. "Prepare all defenses. I want every gun manned, every fighter ready. This is our home. We hold." The Aegis shuddered as power rerouted to shields and weapons. Around Mara, the crew moved with practiced precision, their faces grim but determined. Years of fighting had forged them into a tight-knit family, one united by a single purpose: survival. As the seconds ticked by, Mara allowed herself a brief memory. Years earlier, humanity had been scattered across the stars, colonizing distant worlds with hope and ambition. But the galaxy was not kind to dreamers. The Vharix Collective, a sprawling alliance of technologically superior species, had waged war to crush human expansion. One by one, colonies fell, swallowed by overwhelming firepower and cold strategy. Yet every time the Vharix thought humanity defeated, humans had found a way to endure. Guerrilla tactics, clever sabotage, unexpected alliances with other alien dissidents, humanity's resourcefulness had become legendary, even among their enemies. But this battle was different. This time, no allies remained. This time, it was just them. A sudden alarm cut through the hum of the bridge. "Incoming fighters," Voss announced. "Multiple squadrons dropping from orbit." Mara's eyes narrowed. The Vharix were not wasting time. "Deploy interceptors. Engage the fighters. Protect the surface installations at all costs." Outside, streaks of light blossomed as human interceptors surged to meet the enemy. Mara's gaze flicked to the holographic display, fragile ships weaving through clouds of plasma and laser fire. The sky above Archon Prime was a storm of destruction. Suddenly, a transmission broke through the static, a cold voice in the Vharix tongue. Mara recognized the tone, arrogant, dismissive. "You are fools to resist. Your species is primitive. Your technology outdated. Surrender now, and we may grant you mercy." Mara clenched her fists. "They don't understand us," she muttered. "They never do." "Captain," Voss warned, "enemy fleet is deploying orbital bombardment drones. They'll begin shelling the surface in 5 minutes." Mara looked down at the battered planet below, where millions of lives depended on her decisions. "We don't have 5 minutes to lose." Turning to her communications officer, she ordered, "Send all available data on drone trajectories to the ground defense teams. We'll buy them as much time as possible." The crew sprang into action, voices rising over the din. Mara moved to the tactical console herself, coordinating strikes against the incoming drones, targeting their control systems. The Aegis trembled as the first salvo of plasma shells screamed past its shields, striking deep into the planet's atmosphere. On the ground, cities burned. Fires flared, but so did human resistance. Through the chaos, Mara's mind flashed to a lesson she'd learned long ago. The greatest weapon humans possessed was not their ships or guns. It was their unpredictability. The Vharix relied on order, precision, overwhelming force. Humans thrived in chaos. As the bombardment raged, Mara made a decision. "Prepare the stealth teams," she ordered. "We hit their command ships from the inside. If we can disrupt their coordination, we stand a chance. The crew exchanged glances. It was a dangerous gamble, but the only one left. Mara's voice softened, barely a whisper. They underestimated a human once. They will regret underestimating us again. Outside, the stars watched silently as the last human fleet prepared to fight for everything they had left. The human factor. The night sky above Archon Prime was alight with streaks of fire and the harsh flashes of plasma fire. From orbit to the scarred surface below, the war was everywhere. But humans, cornered and desperate, fought with a fierce determination that no alien could fully understand. Captain Mara Eland stood again on the Aegis Bridge, eyes scanning the chaotic battle through the viewscreen. The Vharix fleet had unleashed their full might, swift cruisers, deadly drones, and armored ground forces pouring onto the planet. But the humans were not retreating, they were striking back. Intercepting fighters down, Lieutenant Voss reported, voice grim but steady. We've lost 2 squadrons, but they took out half their assault wing. Mara nodded, pride flickering briefly despite the cost. Good. Keep the pressure. Below, on the planet's surface, the human defenders fought with guerrilla precision. Mara's mind shifted to the ground teams, ragtag groups of soldiers, engineers, and volunteers who used every inch of Archon Prime's broken terrain to their advantage. Where the Vharix relied on overwhelming firepower, humans adapted. Commander Lyra Voss led one such team deep in the ash-covered ruins of the old capital city. Her squad moved through shattered buildings, setting improvised traps and hacking abandoned alien machinery they had scavenged during previous skirmishes. "Those walkers won't know what hit them," Lyra said with grim satisfaction, her voice steady over comms. "This is our home. We know it better than they ever will." Suddenly, the ground shook violently. Massive Vharix assault walkers lumbered into view, their towering limbs crushing everything beneath. Lyra's team vanished into cover, then unleashed a coordinated barrage of homemade explosives and electromagnetic pulses. The walkers faltered, their control systems glitching under the sudden surge. For a moment, the impossible happened. The monstrous machines collapsed, sparks flying. Back on the Aegis, Mara allowed herself a moment to smile. This was the human factor, the unpredictable element that no enemy could ever fully anticipate. "They're holding, but barely," Voss said, shifting uneasily. "The Vharix will regroup soon, and this time, they'll bring heavier fire." Mara's jaw tightened. "Then we give them something to regret." She activated the tactical holodisplay. "Prepare the stealth teams for insertion. Jean, the engineer, has located a vulnerability in their command ship's internal network. If we can get a team inside, we might cripple their fleet's coordination." The young engineer, Jean, sat nearby, his fingers dancing over a portable console. "It's risky. The systems are alien and heavily guarded, but if I can plug into their core from inside the ship, I can shut down their command protocols, disrupt their entire operation." Mara met Jin's eyes. "Then you're coming with us." The crew around her exchanged looks. Jean was brilliant, but inexperienced in combat. Still, this was a mission that required brains and guts. As preparations began, Mara reflected on humanity's past. Time and again, humans had survived by refusing to play by the enemy's rules. Where the Vharix demanded discipline and predictability, humans responded with improvisation and bold unpredictability. They used their environment, their creativity, and their sheer stubbornness to turn the tide. "Enemy command ship detected," the communications officer announced. "It's orbiting just beyond the battle zone, unaware of our stealth teams approaching." Mara led the boarding party aboard sleek but alien shuttles, cloaked and silent. As they slipped past enemy patrols and sensors, her heart pounded with a mixture of fear and determination. The ship's interior was a maze of unfamiliar corridors, pulsating with alien technology. The Vharix crews were alert, but not expecting an attack from within. "Remember," Mara whispered to her team, "our advantage is surprise. Hit fast, hit hard." Jean moved quickly, hacking terminals and bypassing security protocols as the team fought their way toward the central command core. His fingers flew over the console, lines of alien code twisting and folding beneath his gaze. Suddenly, an alarm blared. "Detected!" a Vharix officer shouted in their guttural language. The boarding party braced as enemy troops closed in. Blaster fire echoed through the corridors. Mara fought with precision and calm, leading her team through tight passages and ambushes. Gene continued his work, sweat beading on his forehead. Almost there. Just a few more seconds. Outside, the battle raged. The human fighters, emboldened by the infiltration, pushed the Vharix back in pockets across Arkan Prime. Every time the aliens thought they'd crushed resistance, humans struck where it hurt most. Then, the command ship systems flickered. Lights dimmed. Communications stuttered. Gene, status. Mara shouted over the comms. "I'm in," he replied breathlessly. "Disabling command protocols now." The ship shuddered. Orders from the flagship scrambled, fighters hesitated, ground troops faltered. "Now's our chance," Mara barked. Back on Arkan Prime, human forces surged forward, exploiting the chaos. The Vharix fleet, master of strategy but now blinded by confusion, began to retreat. Mara allowed herself a moment of hope. The battle was far from over, but for the first time in months, humanity was on the offensive. As the enemy withdrew, a message crackled through the comms, cold, dismissive, but tinged with frustration. "You are persistent fools. This changes nothing. We will return." Mara's voice was steady, filled with quiet fury. "Then we'll be here, waiting." In the darkest hour, humans had shown the galaxy why they were never to be underestimated. No one left to save them. The silence was the first thing Mara noticed when she returned to the command bunker beneath Arkan Prime's surface. The steady hum of communication lines, the usual crackle of distant transmissions, all gone. The screens that once displayed live updates were black, and the hum of power felt weaker, strained. They were cut off. "Status report," Mara demanded, her voice sharp. Lieutenant Voss looked grim. "All outgoing communications jammed or dead. No sign of any other human colonies responding. It's like they don't exist anymore." The words hung heavy in the air. Isolation was a danger worse than any alien weapon. Mara clenched her fists. The Vharix Collective had not just attacked the last bastion, they'd severed humanity's lifelines. No allies, no reinforcements, no backup. Just them. "We are alone," Mara said, her voice steady despite the crushing weight of the truth. "No one left to save us." The bunker's atmosphere felt colder, the walls closing in. Supplies were running low. Rations rationed. Fuel and ammunition tightly controlled. Every resource was stretched to its limit. Around her, the commanders and soldiers wore exhaustion like a second skin. Months of constant battle had drained them, but defeat was not yet in their hearts. "We can't give up," Mara said firmly, pacing the room. "The Vharix want us broken. They think cutting us off will make us surrender." A young engineer named Gene stepped forward, his eyes bright despite the gloom. "Captain, I have an idea. If we can hack into the Vharix mainframe remotely, from here, we might be able to disrupt their command protocols without boarding their ships." "Risky," Mara said. "They've already jammed our communications." Gene nodded. "True, but I think I can create a signal that mimics their own network frequencies. It's a long shot, but it could buy us time." Mara studied him for a moment. Jin's brilliance had saved them before, but this mission would be dangerous. "We'll need a team," she said. "Volunteers only. It's a one-way trip." A few hands rose quickly. Mara's gaze landed on herself. "I'm going." Mara's announcement was met with silence, then murmurs of respect and concern. "This is what I'm here for," she said. "If we're to survive, someone has to take the fight to the enemy, even if it means going into the heart of their network." Preparations began immediately. The team was small: Mara, Gene, and a handful of the toughest soldiers. Their goal: hack into the Vharix mainframe from an underground transmitter that could reach deep into enemy space. As the group gathered their gear, the bunker trembled from another distant bombardment. Mara looked out through a small viewport to the scarred surface, where fires still burned and shadows of war moved relentlessly. "Remember," she said, locking eyes with each member of the team, "we fight not because we want to, but because we have to. Humanity's spirit isn't measured by our weapons or technology, it's measured by our will to endure." The journey to the transmitter site was perilous. Vharix patrols moved like ghosts through the ruins, and traps lay hidden beneath ash and rubble. Mara's squad moved with silent efficiency, relying on instincts honed through months of survival. When they reached the transmitter, Gene quickly set up his equipment. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he adjusted frequencies and bypassed layers of alien encryption. "We're close," he muttered. "If I can just break through their firewall." Suddenly, alarms echoed in the distance. "They've found us," Mara said sharply. "Hold your ground." Vharix soldiers descended, blasters blazing. The humans fought fiercely, bullets and plasma fire tearing through the smoky air. Mara's squad formed a defensive perimeter, buying Gene the precious seconds he needed. "Almost there," Gene whispered, fingers flying across the console. With a final keystroke, a burst of light from the transmitter signaled success. The Vharix mainframe blinked, their systems faltered. Across Arkan Prime and deep into space, chaos erupted among the Vharix fleets. Ships stalled, weapon systems glitched, and communications scrambled. Mara allowed herself a brief smile. The gamble had paid off. But victory was bittersweet. The battle was far from over, and the cost had been high. As the Vharix scrambled to regain control, Mara's comms buzzed with a crackling message, cold, dismissive, and filled with warning. "You think this will save you? There is no salvation for your kind. We will return. And next time, you will not survive." Mara met the threat with unyielding eyes. "We'll be ready," she said. That night, as Arkan Prime's battered defenders prepared for what would come next, Mara stood alone on a hill overlooking the horizon. The stars above were distant and cold, but inside her, a fierce fire burned. They had no allies, no reinforcements, no one left to save them. But humans never gave up. They never surrendered. Because they knew one truth above all else: when you're alone, you fight harder. They underestimated a human again. The air inside the alien flagship was cold and sterile, humming with the quiet pulse of unfamiliar technology. Captain Mara Eland moved cautiously through winding corridors of alien alloy, her footsteps echoing softly as she led her small infiltration team deeper into enemy territory. The shadows seemed alive, and every corner could hide a Vharix patrol or worse. Beside her, Gene worked feverishly on a portable console, fingers flying across alien symbols and codes that twisted like serpents in his mind. "We're close to their command core," he whispered, eyes wide with focus. "Once I breach their system, I can scramble their entire fleet's coordination." Mara glanced at the young engineer. His face was pale, but his determination was steel. "Do it, Gene. We have no other choice." Their mission was clear: cripple the Vharix flagship from within and give humanity the edge it desperately needed. Alone, isolated, and outnumbered, humans had already survived impossible odds. This was the moment to prove once more that no one should underestimate them. Suddenly, the silent corridors burst into alarm. A shrill klaxon echoed through the ship, red lights bathing the walls in a warning glow. "Detected," a harsh Vharix voice growled over the intercom. "Intruders on board." Mara's team drew their weapons, compact, powerful human-made rifles adapted to alien tech. They moved swiftly, shadows among shadows, evading security drones and ambushes. "Keep moving," Mara ordered. "We're almost there." Plasma fire streaked through the air, singeing metal and lighting up the dark hallways. Mara fought with ruthless precision, every shot calculated, every move tactical. The Vharix were powerful, but they lacked the unpredictability that had always been humanity's greatest weapon. Jin's fingers danced on the console as he hacked into system after system. Just a few more seconds. Almost in. The team reached the core chamber, a vast, pulsating heart of alien technology, humming with raw power. Gene hooked his device into the central console. "Now!" Mara shouted, covering him as Vharix reinforcements surged forward. Jin's device emitted a burst of energy. The entire ship trembled as systems flickered and failed. Alarms screamed, communications broke down. On the battlefield outside, Vharix ships faltered, weapons ceased firing, and fleets drifted aimlessly. Mara's voice blared through hacked comm channels, broadcasting a message to every enemy vessel. "You underestimated a human again. There is no one left to save you." Confusion and panic rippled through the Vharix forces. The flagship's destruction would send shockwaves across their entire command structure. With the core destabilizing, Mara gave the order to retreat. "Fall back. Extraction teams inbound." Her squad raced through collapsing corridors, dodging bursts of failing security systems and the chaos they had unleashed. Explosions rocked the ship, debris raining down like deadly hail. As they reached the extraction point, Mara glanced back at the ship's core, now engulfed in a fiery cascade of sparks and molten metal. The flagship exploded in a brilliant blaze, a beacon of human defiance against impossible odds. Human fighters seized the moment. The Vharix fleet, leaderless and disoriented, began a hasty retreat. Back on Archon Prime, the battered human forces watched the enemy withdrawal with disbelief and relief. Mara's message had spread fast. Humans were no longer the weak, expendable species the galaxy thought they were. They were fighters, survivors, legends in the making. The scars of war ran deep, but so did humanity's resolve. As the last Vharix ships vanished into the dark void, Mara looked to the stars, her heart swelling with fierce pride. They had been alone, abandoned, and outmatched. Yet, against all odds, they had won. Because they were human. And no one underestimated a human twice.